I adjusted my VR headset, monitoring real-time data from our global gaming servers while my brother David's voice echoed through our parents' living room. "Look at her," he sneered to our parents. 28 years old and still playing video games all day, while I'm being promoted to vice president at TechCorp. I hid my smile behind the headset, watching as millions of players navigated the virtual worlds I'd built. David had no idea that TechCorp was just one of many companies I'd been quietly acquiring through my gaming empire. "She needs to grow up," he continued, waving his promotion letter like a flag. "Get a real job like the rest of us." Mom wrung her hands nervously. "David, your sister works very hard at her games." "Games?" He laughed. "That's what we're calling it now. While I'm closing million-dollar deals, she's probably shooting aliens or whatever." If he only knew I was actually overseeing a virtual economy larger than most countries' GDPs. My gaming platform Neuroverse had revolutionized how people work, play, and connect. Those aliens were actually corporate avatars conducting billion-dollar transactions in our secure virtual spaces. "Actually," I said, making a few subtle adjustments to the Asian market protocols, "I'm working. Playing games isn't work." David's voice rose. "This is work." He shook his promotion letter again. "Vice President of Strategic Development at a Fortune 500 company." I checked my watch. "Almost time. How much do you know about TechCorp's recent acquisition? The mysterious tech conglomerate that bought us?" He straightened his expensive tie. "I'm meeting them next week. Probably some old money investment group." "Wrong on both counts," I said, reaching for my tablet. "The meeting's today. Right now, actually." "What are you talking about?" I removed my VR headset, revealing the sleek corporate command center hidden within what they thought was just a gaming rig. "Welcome to your new boss's virtual office." The promotion letter crumpled in his fist as realization slowly dawned. "That's impossible," David stammered, his perfectly pressed suit suddenly seeming to suffocate him. "TechCorp was bought by Neuroverse Holdings. My company," I finished, pulling up holographic displays showing real-time data from our global operations. "Though that's just one division of what we actually do." Mom sank into her favorite armchair, her eyes darting between her children. The successful corporate executive and the daughter she thought was just playing games in her old bedroom. "But Neuroverse is worth..." David's voice cracked. $89 billion as of this morning's market open, I supplied, watching another million users log into our platforms across multiple continents. Though that's before counting the metaverse patents and quantum computing division. Dad, who'd been quietly observing from his corner of the room, finally spoke. "Those late-night gaming sessions in high school were actually beta tests for our neural interface technology," I nodded. "Those gaming friends I was always talking to? Silicon Valley investors and tech pioneers. We built the foundation of the metaverse economy while everyone thought we were just playing MMORPGs." David's face had gone from confident to ashen. "The promotion letter was generated by our HR AI, I confirmed, pulling up his personnel file on one of my floating screens. "Though I had to override its initial recommendation. It thought you weren't quite ready for VP. "Override," he whispered. "I wanted to see how you'd handle the news," I said, making a subtle gesture that transformed the living room into a full corporate visualization chamber. Stock tickers, user metrics, and global operation data surrounded us in a dance of light and information. "Consider it your first test as vice president." Mom's hands flew to her mouth as she watched our childhood home become a command center for one of the world's most valuable tech companies. "All those times you said you were too busy gaming to attend my office parties," David said slowly. "I was usually in board meetings," I explained. "Hard to attend a middle management mixer when you're negotiating multi-billion-dollar acquisitions in our virtual boardroom." A notification chimed, urgent but not critical. I dismissed it with a thought, our neural interface technology responding to my subtle brain patterns. "That watch," Dad pointed to my wrist. "The one David made fun of for being cheap plastic. Is a prototype quantum computer worth more than most houses," I smiled. "The plastic is actually a new metamaterial we developed. The Defense Department is very interested in it." David collapsed onto the couch, his promotion letter falling forgotten to the floor. "Our company, you own our company, along with about 30 others, I confirmed, bringing up our corporate structure. Though TechCorp is special. After all, watching my big brother brag about his corporate success while I built the platform that would eventually buy his company, that was pretty entertaining. The room hummed with the quiet power of bleeding-edge technology disguised as gaming equipment. Every surface now revealed its true nature. Not the remnants of a childhood gaming hobby, but the nerve center of a global tech empire. The gaming addiction intervention you planned for tonight, I added, watching David wince at the reminder. Might need some revision. The next hour transformed our family's modest living room into something between a Silicon Valley boardroom and a sci-fi command center. David sat shell-shocked on the couch while Mom and Dad tried to process that their gaming-addicted daughter was actually one of the most powerful tech executives in the world. Let me show you what we really do, I said, making another gesture that expanded the holographic displays. Neuroverse isn't just a gaming platform. The room filled with streams of data, showing millions of simultaneous connections across our global network. Business meetings, educational sessions, medical procedures, all happening in our virtual spaces. That's the UN Security Council, David pointed at one secure feed. They're using your platform? Along with most major governments and corporations, I nodded. Those game servers you mocked? They handle more diplomatic traffic than the State Department. A notification popped up, urgent this time. I accepted it with a thought, and a familiar face appeared in holographic form. Ms. Reynolds, Elon Musk's avatar spoke. The Mars colony simulation is ready for your review. Thank you, Elon, I replied casually, watching David's jaw drop. I'll look at it after the family meeting. Mom gripped the armrest of her chair. You know Elon Musk? He's actually one of our smaller investors, I said, dismissing the call. Though he does have some interesting ideas about virtual reality on Mars. Another notification. Mark Zuckerberg requesting access to our new neural interface patents. Denied as usual. Some corporate rivalries never change. But your room, David gestured around what appeared to be a typical bedroom. All this gaming equipment. I smiled, tapping my watch. The bedroom's true form shimmered into view. Quantum processors disguised as gaming consoles, neural interface arrays hidden in ordinary furniture, and enough computing power to run a small country. The gaming addiction you were so worried about? I brought up my work calendar. Actually looks more like this. Meetings with world leaders, technology breakthroughs, acquisition strategies, all carefully hidden behind what the world saw as simple gaming sessions. That day you called me a waste of space for missing your company awards dinner? I highlighted a particular entry. I was finalizing the quantum encryption protocol that made our platform secure enough for government use. The same protocol that's now protecting TechCorp's sensitive data. David's face flushed with remembered arrogance. The awards dinner where I won Executive of the Year was hosted on our virtual platform, I finished. You were literally accepting an award in a system I built while criticizing me for building it. A series of screens showed TechCorp's integration into our larger network, including some details that made David's promotion seem rather small in comparison. Your new role as VP, I continued, pulling up his updated responsibilities, will actually be quite challenging. We're revolutionizing how businesses operate in virtual space. Think you can handle it? David stared at his new job description, his previous corporate confidence crumbling. Terms like quantum neural integration and meta-economic protocols scrolled past his eyes. I don't even understand half of these requirements, he admitted. That's why we have a special training program, I said, bringing up another holographic window. Though most executives take months to complete it. You'll need to do it in weeks. Mom leaned forward, squinting at the complex diagrams floating in the air. Honey, those symbols you used to draw in your notebooks in high school were early designs for our neural interface system, I nodded. Remember when David said I was doodling nonsense, instead of taking proper business notes like him? Dad picked up one of my old gaming magazines from the bookshelf. And these articles you wrote under a pseudonym were actually explaining our technology in terms gamers could understand, I confirmed. While the corporate world was busy mocking gamers, we were building the future of global commerce. A subtle chime indicated another major transaction completing in our virtual space. Billions of dollars moving through systems that looked like game servers to the outside world. Your apartment in the city, David said slowly, the one I called a gamer's cave, is actually our main research and development facility. I smiled. Those gaming friends who visit? Nobel laureates, tech pioneers, and yes, some actual gamers who help us push the boundaries of what's possible in virtual space. Another notification. The Chinese government requesting expanded access to our secure virtual meeting platforms. I flagged it for later review. But the gaming tournaments, David protested weakly. You spend hours in those. I gestured, bringing up footage from our last major tournament. World leaders and corporate executives, their avatars disguised as gaming characters, conducting high-level negotiations in our secure virtual spaces. That championship you mocked last month was actually a G20 economic summit, I explained. Turns out when people think they're watching a gaming stream, they pay less attention to who's really meeting with whom. Mom's eyes widened as she recognized several prominent world leaders among the players. The prize money you made fun of? I continued. Usually gets donated to education initiatives. Though the real value is in the deals made during these games. David's promotion letter lay forgotten on the floor as screens showed the true scope of our operations. Virtual offices spanning every time zone, secure trading platforms handling trillions in transactions, and educational systems teaching millions simultaneously. Your gaming addiction intervention, he started, was particularly ironic, I finished. Considering that while you were planning it, I was finalizing the acquisition of your company. A new alert flashed. Our AI had detected unusual trading patterns around TechCorp's stock. Speaking of which, I made a few quick gestures, implementing trading circuit breakers. You might want to check your company stock options. The market's about to react to the news. David frantically pulled out his phone, then gasped. The stock. It's up 300% since opening. Small bump, I shrugged. Wait until they announce our neural interface integration next week. The sunset painted our living room in shades of orange and gold, creating fascinating patterns as it filtered through the holographic displays. My quantum-enhanced systems hummed quietly, processing millions of transactions per second while appearing to be nothing more than high-end gaming rigs. There's something else you should see, I said, initiating a secure protocol that transformed the entire room into a fully immersive virtual space. This is what I was actually doing during all those wasteful gaming sessions. Our living room disappeared, replaced by a vast digital landscape. Cities made of light and data stretched to the horizon, each structure representing real-world operations and transactions. Welcome to what we call the overview, I explained, watching my family's awestruck expressions. Every point of light is a real-world connection. Every flowing stream of data represents actual human interactions. Those golden streams, Dad pointed, his engineering background helping him grasp the visualization. Financial transactions. About $4 trillion worth in the last hour alone. I zoomed in on a particularly bright cluster. That one there. That's TechCorp's entire operation, now integrated into our larger network. David stumbled slightly as the virtual space shifted around him. All those meetings I've been having online were happening in a small corner of this, I confirmed. Though you were only seeing the surface interface. The real systems go much deeper. With a thought command, I brought up the neural layer, a complex web of AI-enhanced connections that made our platform unique. Remember when you said I was wasting my potential on game design? I asked David. What you didn't understand was that games were just the beginning. We were building a new kind of internet. Mom reached out to touch a stream of light, gasping as it responded to her movement. It's alive. In a way, I nodded. Our neural networks learn and adapt in real time. Every interaction, every transaction, every connection makes the system smarter. A red alert pulsed in the corner of my vision. Another corporate giant trying to breach our quantum encryption. I dispatched our security protocols with a thought, watching as their attempt was elegantly deflected. That's why traditional tech companies can't compete, I explained, bringing up a visualization of our security systems. They're still thinking in terms of conventional computing. We built something entirely new. The gaming tournaments, David said slowly, The ones you said were actually business meetings. I gestured, and part of the space transformed into a replay of last week's championship match. Now they could see it clearly. World leaders and corporate executives, their avatars engaged in complex negotiations disguised as gameplay. This particular match, I highlighted one section, resulted in a new trade agreement between three major powers. The public just saw an exciting esports final. A notification chimed, urgent but not critical. The European Union requesting expanded access to our virtual governance systems. Your new role at TechCorp, I turned to David, will involve learning to navigate this space. To understand that the line between games and reality, between virtual and physical, isn't what you thought it was. The room shifted again, showing the true scope of our operations. Educational platforms teaching millions simultaneously, medical systems allowing doctors to perform surgery across continents, and economic tools that had quietly revolutionized global finance. That gaming addiction you were so worried about? I brought up my actual work schedule. Was actually this. The schedule materialized around us. Meetings with world leaders, technology breakthroughs, strategic planning sessions, all carefully disguised as gaming activities. While you were climbing the corporate ladder, I continued, I was building the platforms that the ladders stand on.